Hello, I'm Heather Coker Hawkins. I use the she series pronouns, and I'm an assistant professor at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville, Tennessee. I thank everyone at AMPS for this opportunity to present Teaching the Change You Want to See on Set. In cinema's most evocative and impressive form, it can serve as a reflexive tool for change. The mode of production used to support these examples of cinema, whose narratives run counter to, or at least critical of, culture, tend to be independent or non-dominant approaches to producing cinema. American film schools and programs of study typically follow a tightly structured narrative Hollywood film production workflow. There is a great and revolving number of fresh cinema program graduates supporting industry productions in various entry-level capacities. They are often hungry to work and meet the demands of a destructive and widespread work ethic to be the best, most eager, and available worker, often at the expense of their health and well-being, so that they are the person hired for the next job. This fear is perpetuated by employers uttering variations on the following phrase, if ever confronted by resistance to unreasonable expectations. There are 100 more just like you, waiting in line for this job. Upholding this dominant mode of production perpetuates a bottom-line driving force that values profit, or at the very least, protects the employer over the employee, who, without their labor, there would be no production. The quality of a person's labor is a condition of their skill, desire, and motivation, an interwoven and malleable effort. My life, research, and teaching are fluid aspects of my whole person. Sadly, I witness students in varying degrees of distress in my role as an educator. In response to this distress and my desire to disrupt the structures of the industry, in spring 2020, I began incorporating a wellness component to teaching a collaborative filmmaking process. I designed a one-semester upper division video art class to address and reshape the focus of individual wellness while developing, filming, and completing a short film. I believe this model is one that addresses the whole student. It provides opportunities for students to engage as themselves with their peers in an activity with clear structure that allows for creative exchange and acceptance of each other as human beings. I propose that modeling this filmmaking approach could result in perpetuating a value and practice in this profession toward a person-focused set of standards to be adopted by unions and the industry at large. When a laborer's value is recognized and they are treated like human beings, the laborers will invest in their work differently, and the resulting outcome of shared effort will reflect the environment. Another hopeful byproduct will be empowerment of those laboring to know and protect their worth as human beings, rather than operate from fear of scarcity of opportunity and consequentially vital resources while serving the monetary gain of a few individuals. I began teaching at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville in the fall of 2019. My appointment included teaching video editing, introduction to video art and cinema studies, and an advanced special topics version of the Video Art and Cinema Studies course. The courses served as production instruction for students in the Cinema Studies program and time-based art major. At UT, I had the freedom to design the 400-level course according to my interest and expertise. This led me to formulate a collaborative filmmaking course set to begin in the spring of 2020. This piece of writing serves to document the design of the collaborative filmmaking course, including well-being pedagogy in its learning objectives and content. This focus not only shaped the structure of the course, but proposed to address the larger infrastructure of the industry that similar courses typically emulate. The industry reliant on human labor is typically destructive to the individual's wellness and sense of well-being. Some problems include excessive work hours with low pay, porous work-life boundaries, gig-based freelance structure, and typically fewer opportunities for women and people of color in leadership roles. The current mode of production is unsustainable to an individual. Instead of addressing the demise of the individual, the industry preys on the endless font of new laborers to replace those who cannot or do not continue working in the industry. It is a revolving door for fresh laborers to replace those with institutional knowledge, experience, and a diminished sense of well-being. In this paper, I take a critical view of the Hollywood mode of production and assert the need for a new approach to filmmaking. The argument is in service of all laborers and their well-being working in the industry. The classroom teaching production and filmmaking as a process can either perpetuate the model that exists or challenge and promote a different method. Through implementing well-being focused strategies, applicable through translation in all fields of study, there is potential for students to assume a better situation for themselves while pursuing their degree. This practice could cultivate expansive shifts for former students to claim a better future for themselves and ripple outward to laborers in the professional field. Wellness versus well-being. The Global Wellness Institute defines wellness as the active pursuit of activities, choices, and lifestyles that lead to a state of holistic health. Practical association of wellness includes active strategies, such as eating a healthy diet, engaging in physical exercise, and getting enough quality sleep, for example. Whereas well-being relates to a more holistic view of an individual that wellness impacts. Well-being encompasses an individual's mental health, physical health, and more. The wellness-focused component of this course was a separate and individual assignment from the film that was being made collectively. The class followed a framework, including activities that required students to evaluate their wellness in their daily lives. Based on their responses to questions and information gleaned from activities, students pinpointed an aspect of their general wellness that they would like to improve. They were guided in drafting an actionable plan to reduce or include behaviors that support this one change to improve their wellness, which would in turn affect their greater sense of well-being. Research demonstrates that well-being is not only valuable because it feels good, but also because it has beneficial real-world consequences. Compared to people with low well-being, individuals with higher levels of well-being are more cooperative, have stronger immune systems, have better physical health, fewer sleep problems, lower levels of burnout, greater self-control, better self-regulation and coping abilities, and they're more pro-social. In the previous semester, I had full classes of 15 students per section. This low student-to-teacher ratio allowed me to meet my students and become familiar with their unique reasons for attending UT and pursuing their chosen course of study. Aside from knowing this information, there was a barrier beyond the technology chasm, eyes glued to phone screens. I could only describe it as varying degrees of depression and general hopelessness about the future. Many student projects were contemplative of the future world, anxious about environmental crisis and increasing tragedy affecting the youth of the world. Being tuned into and keyed up by the perpetual news cycle served as a waterfall of stress and worry. I surmise that in previous generations, we either chose to look at the daily newspaper or tune in to watch one of 3 television news programs. These were the means of connection, delivering information on a schedule compared to the perpetual information overload we experience today. This ominous tension, pressure, and fear permeated their thoughts, projects, and bodies. I deduced that the time I spent with these students could address or ignore the reality of their lived experiences and quality of their mental energy. I was curious whether our time together could reframe students' awareness of their bodies and their well-being while learning a collaborative process and honing their artistic voice together. Students as co-creators of their own wellness plan. Students were not limited from working together, and some of them forged stronger bonds by suggesting strategies to achieve the other's wellness goal. They offered a sounding board or encouragement when guilt or other useless messaging came to the forefront. The wellness portion of the class was clearly presented as one of a two-pronged effort of the course. I was transparent in the tools I was teaching, providing a written version of each sourced exercise with our purpose for engaging with it and its potential benefits. The learning objectives were met when students engaged with the assignments and interacted with their peers, discussing perceived progress with their self-defined wellness goal. Allowing the student agency to determine their own wellness goal was the first step in trusting the students to personalize their experience and find value committing class time to their individual wellness objective. Pairing students with someone they knew and felt comfortable with or someone they had something in common with formed allyships and accountability partners, which rippled out to our larger classroom community. Having a peer to look out for in class is key to forming community and a stronger bond beyond the classroom. I often encourage the class to form phone groups within the class so that they can stay connected and check in with each, asking questions. When at their best, these groups carry on their conversations into the social sphere and beyond the semester. In the professional sphere, it is important to have comrades outside of work, but also on the job to enhance joy at work, but also to serve as an ally when the larger structure may not support individual well-being. Providing an opportunity for students to experience filmmaking on location would afford them simulated real-world experience if they desired to join the film or television industry after graduation or in an internship capacity. PERMA. I became a volunteer experience faculty fellow at UT, a group of faculty members representing a diverse field of expertise whose goal is to develop and share a well-being focused approach to pedagogy. We were tasked with becoming ambassadors for implementing well-being pedagogy across the campus, but specifically in our respective departments and fields of study. We offered support to our colleagues with regards to course design and ideas for delivery, and there was translation of resources and tools that occurred when including this pedagogy, as we all have classes of different sizes covering a variety of topics with different students. Hindsight teaches me that this collaborative filmmaking class was a direct model infusing well-being. If I could pinpoint one idea that grounds this pedagogy for me, it is to treat students as human beings with concern for their bodily functions and limitations, attention spans, unique experiences, and perspectives. Now, I have learned that a well-being focus can impact students in the following positive ways. The PERMA model, developed by Dr. Martin Seligman, is defined as instilling positive psychology. And the acronym is P, positive emotions, generating good feelings in students. E, engagement, which occurs when strengths are matched to the challenge. Students can find flow and fully engage with the task at hand. R, relationships are forged by connecting to one another authentically. Students are supported and find M, meaning, leading to feelings that their existence is purposeful. And A, accomplishments or achievement can contribute to well-being and is enhanced when experienced as a shared experience with peers. The different letters of the PERMA model connect to one another in useful ways. Student engagement was high in this class as they met the challenge of the assignment to form relationships and collaborate with their peers and performers from the theater department and local community. For this course, meaning was expressed through the expansive assignment and classroom activities serving a greater and deeper collective purpose than the pursuit of earning a passing grade. As students worked together in the classroom and on set, they forged a team and friendships which resulted in positive emotions. Upon completion, the film enjoyed a remote screening the following fall, allowing students to see their work and celebrate their effort in a local film festival. They felt a sense of accomplishment when completion of one stage of production occurred, giving way to the next. The Hollywood mode of production includes a 3-stage process: pre-production, production, and post-production. There is invisible labor that occurs before and after these 3 stages. Many identify filmmaking as a 5-stage process. The period of preparation and planning is the ideation and research phase of production. Then there's pre-production, production, post-production, and distribution. Distribution is the phase that connects the project to its audience. With each class, I strive to form a community. The in-classroom, on-set experience reflects my values, creating a classroom environment steeped in mutual respect rather than following a hierarchical structure, typical to the Hollywood mode of production. One of the ways to disrupt this hierarchy is to listen and practice respect for one another. This costs more time, slowing down to have brief conversations rather than quiet those ranked lower in importance and pay. 2 to 3 leaders emerge to harness and maintain focus and the schedule, but the collaborators' contributions are no more or less important, but instead their input is considered, depending on timeliness and relevance to the moment at hand. In class and on-set, students, workers, arrive with their own experiences and perspectives, which can either be silenced and ignored or voiced and promoted in ways that support reaching the shared goal. Specifically, a student fulfills a role on set, and for that time, they serve as the expert, representing the knowledge and choice. There is a sense of responsibility and interdependency that emerges, forming the necessary cohesion needed for a set or classroom, operating from a place of mutual respect and reliance on one another. There is trust that each peer is putting forth their best effort and their input will be valued and taken into consideration, if not acted upon. If I wish for others to translate to their own teaching and perpetuate well-being focused pedagogy, there must be an example to discuss, follow, amend, and improve upon. Upon meeting the class of students, I shared my expectations of the class and presented each student with a questionnaire. On the survey, students were asked personal preferences, field of study, goals for the class, and perceived skill level pertaining to the 5 stages of production. Depending on the time commitment of a given role, students were assigned a role in at least 2 different stages of production. Each role was double cast. All were involved in the ideation process and critique discussions leading to the final revision. Beyond those 2 commonalities, the class experience was quite varied in scope and content from one student to the next. Some were very active on set, carrying much of the weight during principal photography, serving as grips, camera operators, and sound recordists, in addition to PR and marketing duties, later creating the poster and online press kit. Another wrote 1/3 of the screenplay and served as music supervisor, researching and selecting music tracks to accompany the picture. There were 2 directors who developed the look of the film together and divided the workload on set, guiding the production team. Then during post-production, one designed and mixed audio, and the other director created the titles and credit sequence. The importance and focus was on guiding students through production of a project, which became a short narrative film. The simultaneous focus foregrounded collaboration and working together, identifying strengths and weaknesses, supporting one another in an aware, responsive manner. The project did not finish by the end of the semester, but the students had put so much time and effort into that project that they were committed to see it through, even though it extended 1 month beyond the term. Eventually, the film did reach completion and screened at the local film festival a few months later. The atmosphere on set was equitable and fluid, with students rotating roles within their department and filling additional roles when necessary. The information and training exchange that occurred in pre-production allowed for students to feel comfortable with equipment in production. They would consult one another when questions arose and troubleshoot together. Production consisted of 9 days total, though some were half days and reshoots. Principal photography had wrapped just before the world shut down due to the pandemic, and all were required to shelter at home. We needed exterior shots and connective tissue to bridge scenes, but had no possibility of candid campus footage with students. Instead, we relied on past student projects for campus footage and filling in the rest of the gaps with stock footage. There were pickup shots that students collected and shared remotely with the editors. We became a remote post-production team, defining our method as we transitioned the entire class to a synchronous online format. I created video tutorials to teach students audio editing techniques that I would have taught in the lab. Educational institutions are uniquely situated to respond to student structures of oppression existing in industries in which their graduating students will seek employment. Faculty with industry experience working in a common and dominant workplace climate are compelled to inform their students of the potential challenges and barriers, while also modeling a better mode of production to support the human laboring for their employer. I propose that a multi-semester format could support deep exploration during an understanding of film production. A singular process perhaps perpetuates works made with a certain formula, hindering their ability to push the medium forward in artistic and creative ways. This extension of time with students would allow them to try on various roles and find their fit within the process. A longer engagement could mean deeper connections with peers and instructors, forming bonds over time and through shared experiences. These are some of my ideas for how to enhance and perpetuate this mode of teaching, including a well-being pedagogy. I want to thank you so much for your time and attention. Please be well.